I'm live. Welcome to class. Okay, let me just make sure that all my things are set up. There's nobody here right now, but this replay will be available for anybody who wants to watch it later or could not join live and still want to get the juice. I am feeling a little nervous, but I think it's appropriate for what we are going to be talking about today. So today, this is a free class all about the nourishment of receiving attention. And right now, to receive attention feels a little discombobulating, not so much in my mind, but more like in my body, like my belly's like, ooh. But that's a good sign for me. I'm a generator in human design, and so that's a feeling that shows me that I'm excited and that this is aligned for me. So before we get started, there was one person here, now there's none, but that's okay. Before we get started, I want to begin with some practice, with some energy work that we can do together wherever you are in time and space. Just make sure that you are somewhere where you won't be disturbed, where someone won't come in and be like, what are you doing? Or just make sure that you are in a comfy position, sitting upright, because that's how I will be facilitating it. And if you're laying down watching this, just go ahead and find a position where like you're resting, but you're still like active in the mind. You're not floating out of the body, you're not falling asleep, and you can play with us and feel into what this practice is like for you. If you are completely new to meditation, energy work, which if you're watching this, you might be, but if you're not, then you know what to do. So, to begin, we're going to ground and resource ourselves with earth energy. We're also going to set our crowns and call in cosmic energy from above, and then find some sort of mix of those two that work best for you and your systems. But enough of me talking about it. Let's just do it. So starting with your awareness. Start by taking some deep breaths. Finding a space of gentle breathing and awareness. Start to notice the space you're in. You can have your eyes open to start, and to simply give your attention to the objects around you, to the sensations in your body as you do this. And then if it feels good, you can start to close the eyes. And if you're just joining, we're starting with some grounding an energy practice. So once you come into a nice, gentle, relaxed state of awareness, go ahead and, with your eyes closed, imagine that from the center of the planet, there is a fresh green grounding cord coming up to connect you at your hip points. And then go ahead and allow that to be as big as you need, playing with the sensation of making it big or making it small. And then allow this fresh green grounding cord to refresh the current grounding cord, or the current grounding that you had. And allow yourself to be filled up with this fresh green earth grounding energy. It can come up through the hip points, into the feet, into the legs. And we're working with the inspiration of the Mexican sunflower. I have flowers behind me. These are not Mexican sunflowers, but they're behind me. Go ahead and pull up that fresh green earth energy and bring it all the way up to a space in the body that feels good to you. And then pausing and letting that run. And then as this is running, go ahead and start to become aware of your aura, your space, your field that you're carrying with you wherever you go. And then just go ahead and start to clear anything that's not yours in your space. Letting it fall down that green grounding cord. And you don't need to force this, but simply letting the parts of your space that are not yours, that are ready to fall away, to be grounded out and put back into the earth, to go ahead and do so. And then letting that run as well. Keeping the playfulness of this practice in your awareness as well. And now we're going to call in from above our relative cosmic energy. So you don't have to know exactly what this is, but to notice what you notice when you call this in from above. If there's a color, any sensation, any sound, letting it come in through the crown, top of the head, feeling from the top of the body, and then meeting wherever you pulled up that green earth energy from. And then from here, we're going to mix. So mixing earth and cosmic energy wherever it felt good to bring that earth energy up to and that cosmic energy down to. Finding a percentage that feels light, open, and playful. Normally I like to do maybe like 80 cosmic and 20 earth. Just playing with a number that feels good to you. And then before I start to teach, I want you to become aware of the edge of your aura. So find where your energy ends. It's kind of like finding the edge of your bubble. And then I want everything that I say while you're listening to keep what you want to keep outside of your aura. It's kind of like you're looking at what I am presenting here, what I'm teaching, and you're also letting into your permeable space what feels like yours to work with. So keeping that practice present as best you can, stay playful, stay curious. And then the last thing we'll do is we're going to set our crown, so that space above your head. And then again, just playing with this, the space above your head, go ahead and set the space above your head to a neutral curiosity. And notice what you notice when you do this. Notice if there's a color, if you just see the words going around the sphere. Neutral curiosity. Okay. You can gently open your eyes if they're still closed. And remember that as I'm talking today, you can always clear out anything that's not yours. Now that you have this grounding, if you want to refresh your grounding cord at any point, you can. But we're going to be talking about the nourishment of receiving attention. I'm very excited to talk about this. The way that this came about was my recent Substack publishing. I was walking in the community garden here in Richmond, Virginia. Shout out if you're in Central VA. And I am always gravitated towards the flowers, right? I just, who's not? But there was something that they were teaching me this day about attention, about receiving attention. And this isn't something completely new, it's something that I am always curious about in terms of putting myself out there on the internet, being on screen, being on the camera, talking into the microphone. I'm a performer. I've been a performer almost all of my life since I was a kid. My midheaven's in Leo. And so in this Substack publishing or post, I wrote about the different sort of like thought forms or beliefs, patterns that have been entrained into myself, but also like larger collectives, specifically maybe like women or femmes, or just people who have like a playful sort of like jest fool energy, and how this energy of, or how these thought forms of people who want to receive attention create this sort of like a capping of how much attention we can ask for, or how much attention we should want or need in order to be seen, to be witnessed, to express who we are. And some of those we'll get into later, but I want to talk about sort of the elements and how they've taught me, and nature and what they're teaching me, and sort of their roles in this experience of being seen, being visible, and also receiving the attention that we are desiring and wanting, and to a certain degree needing. So think about the sun. Say hello to the sun if you can see the sun from where you are. The sun as attention, right? The sun is always shining. The sun is the thing that illuminates life, that reveals what is here on earth. But the sun is not just illuminating and revealing, it is also nourishment. It is food for the plants. It's also a detoxification magnet. And what I mean by the sun being a detoxification magnet is that when we are in the sun, human beings, when human beings are in the sun is actually pulling out, and this is like why we sweat, is actually like pulling out all the toxins from us that are not us. Basically, it's helping us to like process the toxins and to pull it out of us. But the thing about this, with this metaphor, it's not even really a metaphor, with this phenomenon of the sun as attention and detoxification magnet, there's extremes, right? There's polarity in all things. There's the one end of not receiving enough sun, and I'm sure you've experienced this if you're a human, or you just see it happen with plants, with life itself, where if someone or something doesn't get enough sun, it shrivels up and it dies. Like us, if winter's coming, winter is coming, and there are a lot of people who need sunshine to be in a good state of mind and being. But then there's also the other side of it, where we can get too much sun, where we can burn. And there's also extreme cases of skin cancer, which is not so much just we have too much sun. It's a mixture of our biochemistry and the sun meeting together, and how our bodies as tools for our beingness, as not being equipped to handle the amount of detoxification happening. Anyway, I'm not going to go all the way into that. However, basically what I'm trying to say is there's two sides of the spectrum with the sun. And if we look at this in terms of attention, not enough attention. Think of a child. Not enough attention. A person's talents don't get to be witnessed or shared. A person feels like they it's like this energy of smallening, right? So if you think of a flower and you look at the flower, and the flower is not getting any sun, that flower is not going to like bloom and shine and open its face to the world around. That flower is going to shrivel up and recede back into itself. You can see the flower receding back into itself, right? And then the other extreme of attention, of so much sun, so much attention, there can be a frying sensation. And I think this is important. Something that's coming through right now is becoming aware of our systems, our nervous systems, our endocrine systems, all the systems that we carry with us, our aura systems, our body systems. Kind of like the phenomenon of having too much sun on the body can create cancer, essentially, or other skin diseases, right? Not just cancer. We have to be aware of where our systems are at and how the sun or how attention is interacting or interfacing with our body, our system, our nervous system specifically is what I'm talking about. So playing with capacity, reaching and stretching for what kind of attention feels good. Like, for example, right now, I am teaching a class and there's 0 people watching live. But how I'm seeing it and how I am sort of, my dog's barking. How life right now is reflecting back to me is that you have capacity to be seen in this way. This is not going to blow out your systems in order to be witnessed and be seen and be visible in this way. And we can stretch, right? We can resource our systems and our bodies to have room for more sun, for more awareness. So now go ahead and do your energy work to clear, to make sure things are separate from you. If you want to keep them separate, noticing what's come through in your aura. If you've let some things in, and then also keeping the information that I'm saying outside of your space, if that feels good to you. Grounding out my energy from your space. Continuing to run the earth and cosmic from above and below. And remembering to set your crown to curious neutrality, because I'm going to talk about the thought forms and belief patterns about visibility and receiving attention. So these have been programmed through generations. These have been programmed especially to women and femmes. These have been programmed for many reasons. Like, behind it, there's a lot of like, I just want to keep you safe energies. Behind it, there's a lot of don't embarrass me energies. It's more so about the individuals who entrained these beliefs or implanted these thought forms into our space. Blue's barking. I don't know if you can hear it. And there's 5 of them, that I'm going to talk about. And if you read my Substack post about this, then you can follow along too and read them. I'm going to go more into depth, and maybe even while I'm talking about them, you can notice if they come up in your space. You can notice, maybe you can even locate where they are in your space if you have that practice. If not, it's okay. Just listen, just play, just enjoy. Okay, so the first one. He's barking a lot. Oh, there's 2 people here now. Okay, let's go in. Let's just do it. So the first one. Seeking attention makes you needy. And, noticing what comes up when I say this. Noticing if it's your energy or someone else's energy is really important, right? So seeking attention makes you needy. Inherent in this is also, you shouldn't need attention. Right? But if we're working with the teachings of the flower and the sun, the flower needs the sun in order to show who it is, right? I see flowers, the flower itself is like the face of the plant. It's like, hi, look. But inherent is behind seeking attention makes you needy is you shouldn't need attention. So first of all, that is already incongruent with life, nature, with the nature of life itself, right? And so noticing where these thought forms are in your space. If you want to go into them, you can, but you don't have to. But what you can do is you can simply notice how much of this is mine, how much of it is not, right? Because these are programmed into us for, many different reasons, karma, whatever, this stuff helps us to metabolize. Like, we should be metabolizing these things, and we should be working with them. We should be looking at them and saying, how much of this is mine, how much of this is my parents, my dad's, societies, whatever. We can ground those out through the grounding cord, and we can work with what is ours. And for all of these, you can do that. The next one: people will judge you for wanting their attention. Now, this is one that I'm seeing in a lot of individuals that will ask me about, like, starting a business or creating content online, a YouTube channel, like whatever it is. People, I see these people like running this energy in their system. Like, they might not say it to me verbally, but I can see it in their space, and they're like, oh, I'm not, it can be expressed as, I don't want to get it wrong, I don't want to be judged, I don't want to offend somebody. But really, the programming is, I am going to be judged for asking for attention, right? I'm going to be, we'll go deeper into it, but there's another one that says, I will be ostracized or othered for wanting attention. Again, this is not in nature's template for needing to be seen, to needing to be visible. If you are an entrepreneur, if you're a creator, if you're an artist, if you're someone, who is putting themselves out there, their likeness, their image out there in the world, if we are putting the desire for attention, and we're smallening it, right? We're like kind of acting like, when we're making something, and I can speak to this because I do this still too. Like, this is not something that I've like mastered or healed, but I see it happening where we'll make something, and then we'll make something, but not from a place of like, I want to be seen. It's like, I want to be seen, but I'm not going to show you who I am. It's like, I'm gonna put something out there, but it's not, I don't want to be, I don't want myself to be revealed, right? Like, we hide the, like, the juice of who we are, like the most, how do I describe, the most pure form of our essence. And how we do that is we let these beliefs and thought forms that we've been entrained with to sort of like mold what we want to share, to kind of like go around the thing that we want to share. And like, I see it as like, it's like the thing you want to share is like so pure and bright and radiant, right? And then we have all these other thought forms around it that sort of make it crusty, that like make it like hard to see, like, who is this behind this thing, right? And so what we can do, sort of like our auras and our energy space, we can see where these programmings of you shouldn't want attention being around this thing that you're creating. And then it's also, you'll be othered, or you'll be judged, or you'll be made fun of. That's another one that I didn't even write here. Is clouding your creation, essentially. It's creating this like cast around it where people can't see who you are, because you're creating something with those, enclosing it. And this comes from an innocent space, right? And it also comes from, how do I want to say this? This comes from, I don't want to say ignorance, because I don't think it's ignorance. I'll say that it comes from a place of wanting to protect, or to feel safe, right? Because there's also this thought form or belief pattern that we've been entrained with, especially women, where acting, dressing, or behaving that way is asking for attention, and that's dangerous, right? So what do we do when we believe something to be dangerous? We contract, we protect, we put up walls. We're not expanded, we're not open, we're not ready to receive. We're not allowing who we are to be seen in a way that is available for the attention that we might still, be wanting somewhere else in our space. And we do this because we want to keep the most precious parts of ourselves safe. And that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. However, I think that however, I think these things are much more malleable than we have been taught, right? So anything that is emotional, anything that is energetic, anything that and your perceptions, those are all changeable. Those are all malleable. They aren't things that are just fixed and you're like doomed to have forever. That's why people do healing work. That's why people do energy work. That's why people make art. That's why people move the parts of themselves so that we can change, we can evolve, we can take that programming that says you are behaving like this and it is dangerous. You are wanting attention and you're doing these things that's dangerous. We can look at it and say, who's saying this? We can listen to that voice. We can then say, okay, you use energy, whoever this is, that is telling me this. I will not work with that because that's yours, but I will work with what is mine. And I think that's also like a key to keep in mind is that there are parts of these thought forms that have our energy in it, and then there are parts that aren't. And the parts that aren't, I'm more interested. Like if you continue to come to class, you'll find that I'll talk about that a lot. I'll have you get a read on your own space of what is mine and what is not, because you can't take on the world's energy and work it in your singular body. It doesn't work that way. We're only really meant to be responsible for what is ours. And then in so doing, that ripples out. Okay. So I talked about the programming of seeking attention makes you needy. People will judge you for wanting their attention. Asking for attention is dangerous, right? And how about asking for attention is bad for your image? Which I just have to laugh at this because like celebrities are always asking for attention, right? Like TV personalities, they need attention so that they can make money, so that they can have a life, they can have their livelihood. This isn't true. This isn't, anytime you have like that is bad, that is wrong, it's because there's like a context into which this thought form or belief pattern has been programmed, right? It's like in the Christian church. Maybe it's bad within the Christian church because the fundamental beliefs of the Christian church is this, right? But once you bring yourself outside of that and you're like, I am my own individual, I have, I have those organizations out of my space, they're out of arm's reach, and I have my own beliefs and fundamental systems that I have, and these things come from knowing yourself, from having self-intimacy. But this programming of asking for attention is bad. I just have to laugh at, because attention is also a resource. Attention is not just, it's not just the sun shining bright and nicely. The sun is also a resource for plants to make food, right? So if I'm a flower and attention is the sun, the more sun I have, the more I am abundant in my ability to make food. And what is that in human form? That's having money to go to the store, that's having community to ask for sharing of resources, of whether that's food or a service or whatever it is. It is a resource. Attention as a resource, like the sun, is fueling you and nourishing you and feeding who you are so that you can make nourishment for yourself as well. So, attention as nourishing is not just some silly little thing, it's not silly. It is the way of life. And we are seeing that more with media. We're seeing that more in this world of um, you know, of social media, like the internet, right? We are allowing our likeness to be seen and put out there in the world, and there are tangible systems that have been created for us to then to reap the benefits of our being seen, of our um, wanting attention. So is it bad? Is it bad for your image? And then that part of it's bad for your image. When I hear image in that phrase, it's bad for your personality. It's bad for your ego. It's bad for who you want people to see you as. And there's nothing wrong with that. There are people who have like ego authority in human design where it's the ego heart center that allows them to make decisions most aligned for them. And I see the image as an aspect of yourself, not the entirety of who you are, not who you are in all your, multiplicity. It's a projection of of yourself that you want people to see. And for it to be bad for your image, to want to be seen, to want attention for what you want people to see you for, is already creating feedback, right? So if we're projecting an image, we want to be seen. There's a part of ourselves that wants to be seen. And then wanting attention from the outside world and having that entrained to be a bad thing is actually causing I don't know how else to call it. It's not feedback, but it's like you're trying for something outwardly, but you also have a program. You have programming that isn't allowing that thing to do the thing. If that makes sense. So you're projecting something out, and you want it to be seen on a certain level, but then there's programming, thought forms, belief patterns that aren't allowing the outside world to then give that back to you. There's I feel like there's something like this in music when I'm setting up sound for like a show or something. I'm wanting the sound to reach to be heard, right? But then if there's if like everything's too close together and compacted, it creates that like sound. It's called feedback. And that's because everything's too close together, compact. And that's what happens when we have thought forms, belief patterns, people's energy in our space that isn't ours. It gets too close together and it creates just the energy cannot move the way that it wants to because it's causing like resistance, feedback, dissonance is sort of like another way to say it. And so in order to have more space, like if we're working with the sound analogy, in order for our image to be seen, to be projected, it needs space for that to be what is happening in your space. And then keeping these thought forms, the energy of others and society that asking for attention is bad, even if it's not completely out of your space, right? Keeping it far enough from the body that it might cause it might cause that in your external reality, maybe you want your Instagram post to be seen, right? And you're so excited about it, but there's still a little bit of those thought forms in there. Maybe your posts will get like 4 likes instead of 24 likes, right? Can you tell I have a small following right now? and and that's because what you are what you're throwing out to life is throwing back at you. So if you're throwing out there and your aura has like, this is bad for your image, this is dangerous, you shouldn't be asking for attention, and you're still creating from that space and you put it out there, life is going to bring it back to you and show you like, oh, you still have these in your aura, you still have these running in your systems and you're creating from that place. I just think it's funny. It's hilarious how we do that. Okay, last one, because it's already at 40 minutes and it's 11 o'clock. And then before we end, we're going to also ground and then do one more energy practice to recall our energy. And then just do some like good hygiene to close out. So this last one kind of touched on a little bit. We'll go more into it. Is acting, dressing, behaving like that is asking for attention, and no one wants to be around that, right? So with that, there is this belief that if you act a certain way and you want attention because, for it or whatever it is, that you will repel others. Like you will repel people because they won't want to be around you. And if, when we're running this belief, you will repel people. Your aura will be like, nope, nope, nope. Because that is what is running through your systems. Even if you're like, oh, I'm going to wear the best outfit, I'm going to like do my makeup, da, 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 da. If there's still something running through your nervous system, through your aura, wherever it is, it could be in the body too, that acting that way and needing attention or wanting attention is going to repel people. It will just, that's what's going to happen. And then I wrote also in the Substack that acting, dressing, behaving like that is asking for attention, and you will be othered or ostracized for wanting attention. So, where do I want to go with this? Where do I want to go? I guess I will go into the stories that occur in many like organized religion and like groups where it's really easy to know what you can and cannot do based off of the beliefs and the foundations of that organization. So, how do I want to say this? Like, Christianity, Catholicism, any of those sort of like Abrahamic religions, I feel like this is also being run, like don't stand out, don't be too loud, like don't speak out, don't have that original thought, because there's a threat to your belonging. There's a threat to it's a threat to your belonging. And this isn't just in organized religion, though that's like my background, that's like what I can speak to. This also happens in corporate world. This happens in not even just corporate world, but like small businesses also. It's like if you're wanting to be seen for who you are through dressing a certain way or saying what's on your mind, what you want to express, to the group, there can be this that has been entrained of you cannot want attention for who you are because it's not safe for your belonging, right? Your belonging will be jeopardized, or you will not be loved. Like at the root of that, it's like you won't be loved by us anymore if you need attention for who you are, Because going back to this really like grounds me to come back to the flower and the sun analogy, because flowers are not like, who am I going to be today? Flowers are not going like, how am I going to fuck the system today, you know? Flowers aren't like, let me put on this thing and show the world like who I am. Flowers are simply being exactly who they are through and through and through and through and through, letting the rest of the world see. And sometimes, if you listened to my Substack posts, these flowers were like telling me, like, take a picture of me. I want you to remember me. I want you to see who I am, and inspire. I want to inspire you when I'm not around you. And I think that is the most beautiful thing that we can learn from these beings, that they're not trying to be anything other than who they are. When you work with flowers and you talk to flowers, you know this about them because they can't be anything else. They can't. And if we can learn from them and be like them, then you'll see that the garden benefits. How do I want to say this? The garden benefits when flowers are themselves. And flowers by nature want to be seen, want attention, need attention to make food. To be seen, to have their petals open up and blossom, right? And so it's actually also against the template of life to say you will not be loved if you reveal who you are, if you shine and open up to us. And part of opening up to people sometimes is, needing to receive the attention like the sun, but it's also saying like, I'm growing, and in my growing, I'm allowing more of myself to be seen, and then stretching my capacity for how far I reach to be seen. And that can just be it. It's not always like when we need attention, it's not always like coming from like talking, you know? It's not always from being loud. It's not always just like making a ruckus and saying, I'm to be seen. Flowers are not doing that. Flowers are not screaming at us all the time, sometimes. Sometimes they might, but they're simply emanating who they are and letting themselves be seen and letting themselves receive the nourishment of the sun, of attention from me, from people, from all the other elements. And think about, and this is a really great way to close, but think about when we do see a flower, right? How does it feel? How does it feel to see a flower when you walk by? I don't know, but maybe people are, I don't know. Maybe people are like, what is that flower doing? Why are they so big? Sometimes I'm like that. Sometimes, like with zinnias, I'm like, why are you everywhere? Like, this is crazy. But they don't care. They're not the ones that are like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for being big and bold and bright. Like, they don't care. But it's us, it's the human complexity that gets in the way of us being able to appreciate the beauty of this being wanting to be seen. The question for you is, how can we witness each other's blossoming and blooming and flowering in a way that we also appreciate the blossoming, blooming of a flower, of nature, of life? Because when we get all these programs, embedded into our space, our nervous system, it's really easy to forget. It's really easy to forget. Okay, that was fun. It is, look at that. It's 11:10, 111. If you have any questions about anything I said, you can DM me. I think there's a chat for the two people who are here. If you have any questions, please feel free, or anything you want to share, please feel free. We're going to close with more practice. It's not going to be that long, but we are, just going to be really nice with our hygiene. And so making sure that you're in a comfortable seat, making sure that you have enough space around you and you won't be bothered. Go ahead and start to come back into the body. If you've left your body, say hello, come back. Start to make separations between me and you so you can feel where your energy is, and then let me and others, maybe if there's people around you, to let them also have their energy. So start to pull yourself back into your body. And if it feels good, you can go ahead and close your eyes, noticing what was kicked up for you in this class today. Not working with them, just simply noticing what was kicked up and where. And then we're going to go ahead and take all of that was kicked up, and we're going to work with it. We're going to move it. We're going to move some energy. So from within your aura, go ahead and locate everything that was kind of triggered or lit up or kicked up in your space. And just play. And we're going to go ahead and create a rose. Imagine a rose. Put this rose outside of your aura, so a little bit away from you, so it's not right there in your space, but a little bit outside. And I want you to give this rose all of this that was kicked up. Offering this rose energy that's not yours, energy that is yours that got kicked up. And then while you're doing this, playfully with an open mind, give that rose a grounding cord, just like how you gave yourself a grounding cord at the beginning of class. Give this rose a grounding cord all the way to the center of the planet. And then through this grounding cord with the rose outside of your aura, go ahead and ask the rose to clear energy that's not yours from that rose. Grounding it out, giving it to the earth. And then noticing if there's a percentage or a number or some sort of measurement, how much of energy on that rose is yours and how much of the energy on that rose is not. And as you continue to ground out energy that's not yours on this rose, notice what happens to the flower, to the rose. And once all of the energy that's not yours on this rose is cleared, I want you to then, I want you to explode the rose. So go ahead and just explode the rose. And imagine it going to all the places that it belongs. They can go to your guides, they can go to your ancestors, they can go to the angels, they can go back to the earth if they're ready. And then the parts of this rose that are now with your guides, we're going to recall them to, with your eyes still closed, to a golden sun above the head. So you can use your hands if you want. Rub your hands together and create a golden sun above your head. And then use this golden sun to then recall energy that's ready to come back, ready to be integrated into your systems. And then imagining it getting bigger, brighter. And then when this energy is moving into the golden sun, it is being updated and refined. And whenever you feel ready, You can bring that golden sun down into your body, into your aura, and then letting everything reintegrate back into your energy body, into your physical body, into your nervous system, throughout all the layers of your aura. And don't forget to include the bottom part of your aura too, underneath your seat. And then we're going to make a new grounding cord. So go ahead and just drop that grounding that we created at the beginning of class. Say thank you to it. And then I want you to pull up from the center of the earth, or dropping it down from you, whatever feels right to you, whatever feels good to you, a new grounding cord. Something that will allow you to ground out energy that's not yours and stay connected to the earth. Noticing the colors, or the color, or the texture. And then to finish, go ahead and clear my energy out of your space, YouTube's energy out of your space. And then we'll do one more golden sun above the head to call you back. So one more golden sun above the head, calling your energy back. Call your energy back from spaces, people, timelines, where or when being seen was bad. Calling that energy back to you in this golden sun to be healed, updated, and refined. People, timelines, spaces, places where wanting attention, where you were taught or programmed that wanting attention was wrong. Go ahead and call that back up into this golden sun. It might be really big now. Letting it all be updated and playing with this practice. And then dropping that into your space. Letting all these parts of yourself to come back home, to be with you. Noticing where they fall into. Letting them to be reintegrated back where they belong. Okay. Thank you so much for coming to class. And if this was helpful, I would love to know. You can subscribe to my